So please go ahead and sign up. Choose your group, choose your time slot, choose your friends. Okay, so who do you want to work together with? Okay, that's the number one. So what happens is that during the first session, you will conduct a meeting, and then right after that meeting, you will individually write an email about that meeting, okay, summarizing that meeting. Okay, so this one, you do it together, everybody, 5 people. Then I should be receiving 5 emails about that same meeting. Okay, so while the first group is doing their meeting, the second group will be running their the first group is writing about their meeting, the second group will be running the meeting. Okay, so that's how it's going to work. And the thing is, we're not going to have enough time to complete everybody's session in one seminar. So seminar 3, this will be seminar 3. And then seminar 4, we will have one more group. The last group will do their discussion observation during seminar 4. But the first half of the seminar, we will focus on video critique, which will be our final assessment later. Okay, so at 3 p.m., we will dismiss, and only the final group will stay on and conduct the assessment at that time. Okay, so that is for the sign up sheets. All right, now I would like to bring your attention to the guideline rubric, whatever, for the email. Okay, the email guideline is actually quite detailed, and so you can go ahead and click on that link that you see on I Discuss, and then you will be redirected to this one, the guidelines. You can read through and blah 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 what the question will look like. Okay, and at the bottom there's actually a sample of an email. Okay, an email sample, and explains how you get marks, etc. Okay, so you want to take a look. Okay, and also I think most of you are already working, you're used to writing emails. I think you should be able to do better than even the example. Okay, this is very basic, so you just want to make sure that you include all the details that you have in the that you have discussed during the meeting. Okay, so let's take a look at the question. Right, if you go into a past year question, you should be able to see some sample questions, so you can take a look and read those questions, see what kind of things that you can expect to be asked about. Okay, before we go into details, I would like to explain to you that the question will be the same. Okay, so if you see this one, situation 1, this one is the question paper for the discussion observation. Okay, so it will tell you to read the information. You have 5 minutes to prepare, whatever. Okay, and each student should be discussing 1 point. Okay, so you can divide the points. And they will give you the question, and it will give you kind of like the agenda, right? So if you've taken a look at our how do you run a meeting, right? You should have an agenda. So basically these would be your agenda. So you have to make sure that you cover everything here. Okay, now before we go into detail there, let me just jump ahead and bring you to the question paper for the email. Okay, so what you're looking at right now, this is situation 1 again, and actually the exact same question, right? Exact same question, but if you scroll up, the instruction is slightly different. Okay, so you want to double check the question. Okay, write an email about 150 words. Depending on the year, sometimes this is 200 words. Okay, so you want to read carefully, right? And then it will tell you have 30 minutes to write the email. You have to have a subject line in your email. So when you write your email, you know, emails has to have a subject at the top, right? So make sure you do that, okay? And then you have to have dear whoever, dear manager, dear blah, 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 dear Miss Jo, dear Ahmad, whoever it is, it's okay, right? So just as long as you have that salutation, you start an email, okay? And then at the end of the email, you should end it with your signature, yours faithfully, or thank you, regards, whatever it is. You have to have the ending, and then you want to sign that email, okay? So Joe, finance manager, for example. Okay, so that's in terms of the email. And I think maybe was it last week or last 2 weeks that we discussed email? So there are some notes on that I discussed that you can take a look at. Okay, let's go back to the discussion observation. Okay, now discussion observation, very simple. It's actually you are just running a meeting. That's it. That's all you have to do. You are running a meeting, and there will be a project that you have to complete. Okay, not complete lah, kind of. You have to plan a project with your team members. Okay, that's all. And if you look at the questions from the past year, it can be very different. For example, this one what we're looking at, this is about Hari Sukan Negara, and you have to organize an interdepartmental sports competition. Okay, so it's about organizing a sports competition. The other question, another group might get this question. Oh, it's you have to organize a campaign, no smoking campaign. Okay, situation 3, the problem is about stress in the workplace. So how do you want to help everybody at the office to become more relaxed and less stressful and like become more healthy, right? So it depends. Okay, there are events where you might have to organize dinners for your office, or maybe you have to organize team building events, raise funds for an orphanage, etc. Okay, so you want to think about projects that can be you might possibly be asked to plan as a team member at the office. Okay, sometimes there have been questions of how do you plan a marketing event for this product, whatever. Okay, and if you look at the questions, they are absolutely free actually, right? There's nothing there. It just tells you that you have to do this thing. Okay, but it doesn't tell you who you are, what you are, when you are. Okay, all those things you have to decide yourself, and you might want to decide during the meeting. Okay, so for example, it will ask you about the objective, about the length of the program. Okay, and everything is up to you. You can decide as long as it is logical. Okay, so for example, the question we're looking at right now is talking about organizing a stress buster program. Right, so a stress buster program, you might run it as a 1-day event. Okay, or maybe another group might say, okay, we're going to do a 2-day event. Okay, so you're going to plan, okay, if, in the morning, in the afternoon, and then morning and afternoon on the second day, right? Some people might decide to run a week-long program, or maybe like a whole month, like, okay, anti-stress month, for example. Okay, but if you have an office event that takes place over a whole month, you will not have an event every day because people need to work, right? So you need to plan kind of, okay, what would be the events? They would be like maybe poster making events, whatever, things that run kind of in the background, but then maybe every Friday you might have something like more specific events. Okay, so those things you can decide. And in terms of the venue, where do you want it? Okay, is it just going to be in your department? It might be in your department, or maybe you will host it in your entire office, so it will be bigger, it will involve more staff, so maybe you will book the hall or the big meeting room at your office. Okay, or maybe depending lah, for this question I think it would be a bit illogical, but sometimes you might have events that might include the public, so maybe the venue you will decide to host it at a hotel. Okay, but the thing is, for all those things, the decisions have to be logical. It has to reflect who will be, what is the objective of the event, right? And then who are the expected attendees? Okay, what kind of place can you expect them to go to? Okay, and then at the same time, all those decisions will require money. Okay, so it will connect to the idea of budget. Okay, budget, like, because for example, if you are hosting an event at a hotel, it will be more expensive than if you are using your own meeting room. Okay, but why would you want it to happen at a hotel? Then because it depends on the activities. right? If you have a product launching, for example, and you just have it in your own meeting room, then that's a little bit weird and funny, okay, and might not be very very effective because the target audience might not be able to attend the event, right? So all those things you want to think about. And during the test, you will be allowed 5 minutes before we start. Okay, 5 minutes before we start. So at during that time, you and your group can discuss anything that you want. Okay, and so you might want to already discuss some of the things here. Okay, but whatever that you have time within the 5 minutes, no need to decide everything. Okay, and sometimes, okay, what I've seen students do is that they focus too much on the first point and they wasted the entire 5 minutes on the first point, and then whatever it is here they did not pay attention to. Okay, so one tip would be is to give one suggestion during the discussion of the 5 minute preparation time too. Okay, whatever it is, run with it. Okay, if you agree or disagree, if you want to negotiate whatever, do that during the actual meeting, during the DO, because okay, when you are giving ideas, when you are asking for clarification, when you are negotiating, when you are disagreeing with anyone, that's where you're collecting marks. And we want to see all those things so that we can give you marks. Okay, so get a general idea, but whatever it is, discuss during the meeting itself. Okay, and another important thing for you to do during the 5 minutes is to appoint the chairperson. Okay, this is very very important. Let me say it again. You must appoint a chairperson during the 5 minute preparation time. Okay, because the chairperson has to start the meeting. Okay, and the chairperson has to tell everybody why we are meeting today, what are we doing, what are we trying to achieve, which is underlying or stating the agenda. Okay, and then nearing the end of the meeting, the chairperson, before the end of the meeting, the chairperson should be aware of the time. Okay, if you look here, it says 10 minutes. Depending, I think this semester we will have 20 minutes, right? So the chairperson has to be aware of the time and thinking about, okay, so roughly we're gonna have to talk about this in like 3 or 4 minutes, and because there will be the intro and also the conclusion, right? So if we are spending too much time on any of the agenda, the chairperson should be aware of that and kind of urges us to move along. Okay, so for example, the chairperson might say, I think we have a good idea from A and also a good idea from B. Maybe let's take a vote. Okay, and then decide like that, and then we can move on to the next point. Okay, so the chairperson's job is to watch the time. Okay, make sure you cover everything here, because if you did not finish your discussion, what will you write in your summary email later? So that will affect your second assignment as well. Okay, so you want to be careful about that. And then nearing the end of the meeting, the chairperson should restate or reiterate what are the decisions made during the meeting. Okay, so for example, remind everybody what are the objectives, how long the program will be, okay, where will it take place, what are the activities, etc. So recap one by one, what were our decisions. Okay, because when you are discussing, it is very easy for some people to think, oh, I think we will have the program at venue A, and then another person say it's at venue B. Okay, so because they argued during the meeting, but actually the decision was to go with venue B, for example. So at the end of it, the chairperson should recap and clarify to everybody what the decisions were. Okay, and then lastly, the chairperson should thank everybody and like dismiss the meeting. Okay, so the chairperson has to welcome everybody, start the meeting, tell us what the agenda is, watch the time, mediate. If everybody is trying to fight and everything, the chairperson should play a role and like maintain the peace. And then at the end of it, the chairperson should recap the meeting, tell us what the decisions are again, and then finally finish the meeting. Okay, so the chairperson kind of plays a big role, but the chairperson cannot do this on their own. Okay, so everybody has to cooperate with the chairperson, right? And like I said, always the assignment, the assessment, you have to work together as a group, but it will be individually marked. Okay, so you want to really make sure that you communicate well with the chairperson and each other. Okay, because you will get marks on your own. Okay, if you allow your chairperson to say everything, then the chairperson will get all the marks. Okay, but if you are the chairperson, please don't GK pula. Okay, so you have to make sure that everybody is contributing to the meeting because they also need to collect marks. And the chairperson can play that role where if you notice maybe one of your friends is not saying anything, you can invite them. So what do you think, C, about the decisions that, okay? So those things you want to play a role. Okay, and as the participants, you really want to participate. Okay, don't just go, I agree with Ahmad. Okay, if all you're saying is I agree without contributing any new ideas, you're not going to get good marks. Okay, so that's that. Right, so that's the role of the chairperson. Okay. Right, now you have to do that, all of that during the meeting, and also you have to prepare that during the 5-minute preparation time. Okay, but I might suggest it to you one step further. You can decide before the preparation time because you already know who your team members are. Okay, so you can already decide. Excuse me. You can already decide who will be the chairperson on the test day. That's not a problem. Okay, and I also like to give this suggestion to students. You can decide which company you will be from. Okay, because that will help you in your discussion. Okay, just imagine right now, maybe you are from Asia, or are you from Milo, or are you from Kementerian Kesihatan, okay, or Ministry of Health Malaysia, right? So if you get a question like this, you will be making different decisions if you are from Air Asia. Okay, your venue, whatever, will be different at Air Asia versus if you are the Ministry of Health, right? Maybe the other one might maybe Air Asia will focus more on like if you are stressed, you're not very friendly to customers, whatever. Okay, how do you improve customer service? By improving or reducing your stress level. Versus if you are from a Ministry of Health, you might be more concerned about the health issues related to stress and how do you bring down the stress from a medical perspective. Okay, now I'm not saying you have to go into details, but those company profile will just help you kind of like give you a background of how you want to carry the meeting. Because contoh lah, okay, if you're thinking about the budget, okay, a private company, a private corporation might have a bit more budget versus a government agency. Okay, or for example, if you say you are an NGO, then usually an NGO might not have so much money and they will have to run fundraising events, for example. Okay, or maybe they get sponsors to help with their events. Okay, so that's what I mean when I suggest to students to have kind of like a company profile coming into the discussion observation, so that it will help you give the story of the meeting. Okay, and also if you're thinking about the last one, we're setting up committees and defining duties for staff, right? So all of you in the meeting, you can also, maybe one of you can play the role of the finance manager. The other person can be a marketing manager. The other person can be the programmer. Okay, and all these things are pretend, make believe. It does. You don't, like, for example, if I'm just now I said I'm a finance manager. I'm not. I'm a teacher. Okay, so but it's a role play situation, so you can just be play along with that. Okay, and so during the meeting, if you've decided that you are the finance manager, then logically speaking, you should have ideas about the budget. Okay, if you are the marketing manager, then you should have ideas about activities for an event. Okay, if you are the programmer, for example, then you would have quite a strong IT background, and you might, be the person in charge of the promotion. So kind of like that. Okay, you don't want to come into the meeting, into the discussion observation blank. Right, there's a lot of foundation that you can build beforehand that can help you get good grades during the meeting, because at the end of the day, it's just us looking at how well you communicate with each other. Okay, how well you discuss your ideas. Okay, right, and you can go back and take a look at the rubrics, and the rubrics is actually the same as the one from workplace simulation. So we want to see your language, right, your vocab, your grammar, and also your content, the idea. Okay, how good of an idea do you have? Okay, so for example, if we're talking about stress buster program, are you giving us a program that's logically related to stress, or are you like somewhere else, right? So that will give you lower or higher marks for the content. The other two would be your values and also your interaction. So how well do you relate with each other, or do you gaduh no end until you're punching each other, which is very, very bad. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's what happens during the meeting. And everybody should take notes of what happens during the meeting. When I say take notes, you want to write down the notes or type, okay? Because we're doing it online, etc. Because the notes, everybody will have to submit the notes as well as the summary email later. Okay, so if you write down your notes, you can snap a picture of it and submit that later on the Google form. Or if you type it, you can submit the Word document or the Google Doc file. Okay, but the email itself, you will have to type and save as PDF. Okay, the Google form will only accept PDF of the email. Okay, not your Word. Okay, every semester, all students will. Some students might ask me, Miss, I cannot submit my email because you did not save it as a PDF. Okay, so please make sure you submit as PDF. So I think that's all the introduction or the explanation necessary for the discussion observation and also the email that follows it. Okay, everything else, it will depend on how well you work with each other, and like I said, you can take the time to prepare before the meeting itself. Okay, so but just relax during the meeting, listen to each other, accept each other's ideas. Okay, just have fun with it. And if you are having fun and really, really communicating with each other, you should be getting high grades. Okay, so I think that's it for the tips for the assessment 2 and 3. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.